I continue with my interaction with Arnab Banerjee, MD and CEO of Ceat Ltd, on the key challenges that CXOs face and the associated coaching needs. Welcome back, Arnab.
Glad to be here.
So let me move to the next question I have for you. Many a time, though these people are at very senior level, they ask this question: what should be my next career move? Okay, it's a question which worries professionals, all right. But just that in this case, it happens to come at a very senior level in the hierarchy. So what are the pros and cons of what should he consider while deciding what is the best course of action? Internal, external? If it is external, what are the factors to be borne in mind before he actually makes the move?
Yeah, I think career dialogues are in vogue now. Most organizations which are professionally run do have a formal structure of career dialogue and not so much of a performance dialogue. So, if people are thinking more about what will happen to me 3 years hence or next career moves, they are likely to take their gaze off from the current roles that they're performing. And they may dig their own grave by underperforming in the current role and thereby lowering their chances of progress. So people don't ask, how can I enhance my performance in the current role, which will actually open the gates for the future faster. Rather they ask, what will I become in future? I find that a little bit amusing. And very few people, 1 out of 10 in my experience, actually ask the valid question, what will enhance my performance currently so that I can grow in future? That's the right question to ask, which unfortunately I find very few people asking. I don't know if that answers your question, but I thought it is important to understand what is the right question to ask and what is the right thing to focus on.
Sure, absolutely. So you answered the first part, Arnab, of when it comes to what should be the orientation internally. But supposing somebody were to consider move outside for whatever reason in any organization, what should be the considerations, factors to be considered before making that move?
Yeah, I think at a senior level, one has to build into the scheme of things. What do I enjoy doing most? Do I enjoy being the head of R&D or head of marketing? Or do I want to be a generalist and become a CEO or a CEO? I think at a certain level of competency is given at that level. So it's not that really capability is what will take you forward, but what you enjoy doing and hence what you will do really well, general management or functional leadership role. It should come from within the organization, within the individual, and the organization will give inputs, cover some gaps and move along with you. So it's an individual call rather than an organization call.
So what I take out from this, Arnab, I noticed that the career dialogue is so important. So we're not only talking about current performance, but giving the certainty to the individual that this is where you're headed and this is where you could make it even more certain. So that's one. And while looking outside, what do I enjoy doing? It could be a very key thing to consider.
Yep.
Great. So Arnab, there is also these days one keeps reading and hearing about jobs being lost across in certain sectors, more in certain sectors, but still prevalent across industries. So is there a fear among these potential CXOs or current CXOs of potential job loss? And how does this impact their morale and contributions on the job? And are there any mechanisms to kind of have a conversation around some of these things in an organization?
Yeah, I think when you are in an organization and let's say in a very volatile kind of setup like a startup or something, you have to take the risk and the return profile into consideration when you enter that kind of a segment. But in a more stable brick and mortar kind of situation, also there are job losses if you stop growing. So in my experience, you can do well in any organization, whether it's fast growing or a moderately growing organization, if you have a good sense of judgment, ability to decide, and if you constantly learn and reskill yourself. Only 2 criteria. If you do these 2 things, I think you will do well in any organization. So people who stop doing any one or both, right, find themselves in the problem because they either block the way in a moderately growing organization and get replaced by somebody who is better, or sometimes because of their own insecurity, I'm not growing very fast enough in this kind of an organization. They tend to make choices. Sometimes it works out for them outside the organization. Sometimes it doesn't.
So Arnab, I think you're really referring to the importance of managing oneself, right? Being better prepared, getting better prepared, rather than getting overly concerned about job loss, because that's something in any case which is outside your own control. So Arnab, CXOs typically have been mid-managers before they come to the current role. So suddenly they are under a microscope. I'm talking very relatively. A lot of stakeholders, when you spoke about cross-functional teams, those are all very important stakeholders. And then there is the boss. And sometimes there is also the board, which is looking over your shoulder. So there seems to be higher scrutiny than ever at CXO level, and low tolerance for slip-ups, because it can be expensive both internally as well as in the external world. What are your views, and what mindset shifts are required on the part of CXOs to cope with this thing?
It depends on how the top leadership profile is in various companies. If the top leadership is very judgmental in nature, I think this kind of anxieties and this kind of feeling of getting scrutinized will be predominant amongst CXOs. Otherwise, it's a great opportunity to expose yourself to the board, which is very frequently done these days. The next level, the CEO -1 level, is frequently exposed to the board for their functional domain sharing. It's a great opportunity to show what you're doing and what your view is for the organization in the future. So I would rather say that people should take it positively and create a good perception around the work they are doing and around the view that they have for leading the organization in future. So I would not take it from a defensive mindset, but I would take it from a positive opportunity kind of mindset and make the best out of the situation.
So kind of changing perspective from the negative feeling of discomfort under closer scrutiny of all their work by more and more senior people, to looking at it as opportunities for my own success and growth. Great, Arnab, thanks for those perspectives in the second part of the series. Let's continue talking in the last part coming up soon. Thank you.
Thank you.